Quick little notice before we begin, I now have a Discord channel for people that watch my videos. There is going to be a link in the description. There has been one for the last few videos as well. Discord is basically kind of like Skype and TeamSpeak combined into one. So if you want to join and talk to me and other people that are watching my videos, then feel free to join. It runs in browsers, it runs as an app, and yeah. So, getting into G-BT05, one of the most disappointing G sets so far in my opinion. The set contains support for Gear Chronicle, Link Joker, Narukami, Oracle Think Tank, and Pale Moon. On top of that, it contains a couple of Cray Elementals and also a secret pack which contains 5 different secret rares, which are Nightmare Doll Alice, Chaosbreaker Dragon, Gauntlet Buster Dragon, Pentagonal Magus, and Susanoo. So, the secret pack is nice because it has some good reprints, but obviously they're expensive as hell, so don't expect to pull them very often. I think they're actually like 1 every 2 cases or so you know, don't expect too much. As always, I'll start off with the Cray Elemental, and the first one is Earth Elemental Dogetz. This is a counter Legion card. His ability is the cost of all units' Legion abilities become choose 4 grade 2 or greater cards from your drop zone and put them on top of your deck in any order. So instead of being able to choose any 4 cards from your drop zone for Legion, you can only pick grade 2s and above. So you cannot put back perfect shields, you cannot put back triggers and stuff like that. So it's a bit to counter Legion, you know, it's an interesting card. The second one is Heat Elemental Jug. When this unit is guarded with, if it's in a battle where your opponent's grade 2 Vanguard attacked, you can basically perfect guard it. So it's similar to Mist, the old Oracle Think Tank card, but now it's for every single clan. So this is good to counter Legion as well. Jumping right into the disappointment with Gear Chronicle's triple rare Clock Fencer Dragon. Oh, so Gear Chronicle has a new mechanic called Time Leap, where you basically bind a card and call a card that's 1 grade higher than it from your deck, and then at the end of turn, you put the card that you called on the bottom of your deck and the bounce card gets called back. So it's an interesting new mechanic. It does make Gear Chronicle much better, but not with this grade 2 specifically. But anyway, his skill is Time Leap and GB1. When he's called from hand, you can choose one of your rear guards and Time Leap it. That's it, and this is triple rare. So yeah, very strong start. However, a card that Gear Chronicle got that is not disappointing is Steam Maiden Melem. Her skill is similar to Upstream Dragon from G-BT04. When she attacks, it's a GB1 skill, you can give her plus 4k until the end of the battle. If you do, you return her to your deck at the end of the battle, and you search your deck for up to 1 grade 0 card, call it to rearguard as rest, and shuffle your deck. So you can call out stuff like Chronodran if you run 2 of them, or triggers and stuff like that. But Melem is a really nice card, and she's very useful in the Time Leap deck. Moving on to some other cards in Gear Chronicle, there's Fiery March Colossus. He's an interesting stride. When he attacks, you can count plus 1 and choose one of your rearguards and put it on the bottom of your deck. And then you choose one of your opponent's rearguards and they put it on the bottom of their deck. And until the end of that battle, your opponent cannot call cards with the same grade as the card that was put to the bottom. So if you put back your opponent's grade 1, they can't perfect shield basically. If you put their grade 0 back, then they can't call grade 0. So you choose if it's a Silent Tom or a Glory effect. So it's pretty damn good. Obviously, you're not going to try to put back grade 2s because that's kind of pointless. So it's a really interesting stride. I do like this one. And I honestly wouldn't have minded if it was a triple rare instead of Clock Fencer. But oh well, can't have everything. Next up is Cornerstone Gear Turtle. There is a version of this card that's grade 3, I believe, as well. And also grade 2. Basically, it's a Time Leap ability on GB1. When your drive check reveals a grade 3 card, you may Time Leap this unit, and it has resist. So it's an interesting little card. It's nothing too special, but it's alright. A card that doesn't have much of a good skill, but has a nice art is Breast Flare Dragon, and it's only a common, but you know, gotta give shoutouts to the good art. Some more interesting cards is Lost City Dragon. When it intercepts GB1 Canvas 1, you can choose one of your opponent's attacking rearguards, return it to their deck, and your opponent searches for card 1 grade less than that card and calls it to a rearguard circle and shuffles their deck. And obviously your opponent can choose not to call if they don't want to, but you know, it's a pretty interesting guard mechanic kind of card, I guess. Next up is Steam Knight Lugal. It's another kind of Tom clone, except not really. It's GB1, when it's called, you can count them as 1, it becomes an 11k attacker, and it gets the Silent Tom skill, but only for 1 turn, so it's not that great. Steam Maiden Balulu is one of the few cards in this set that interacts with being time leaped. So basically, when it goes to the bind zone from your rearguard circle, you can counterblast 1 and draw a card. It's just to show how the interactions can happen between time leaping and stuff. There's a new starter in TikTok Worker. Again, time leap in GB1. At the end of the battle that one of your your other rearguards attacked, you can put him into the soul, and then you can time leap that unit that attacked. So it's alright. And then finally there's this new stand trigger, which is pretty nice. When he's put into the bind zone from rearguard circle, so when he's time leaped, you can put him on the bottom of your deck. And then if you do, you draw 2 cards, and you choose a card from your hand, return it to your deck, and shuffle your deck. So it's pretty interesting. Like, you do draw 2, and you put a card from your hand into your deck, so it's pretty interesting. And also the stand goes back to your deck, so it's pretty good stuff. Now I'm just gonna get my personal biggest disappointment out of the way immediately. I'm a huge fan of Pale Moon. I really do like this clan a lot, and it was one of my first and favorites as well because of how hard it was to play at the beginning. This set really disappointed me with the Pale Moon support, like holy shit. So I'll quickly jump into the GR, which is Dragon Masquerade Harry. He has a GB3. Not many cards do that. And counterblast 2 and choose one of your rearguards and put it into your soul. When he attacks, you pay that cost. If you do, you can take 3 cards from your soul and call them to separate rearguard circles. Then if you have 5 or more rearguard circles, your opponent chooses 2 of his or her rearguards and puts them into their soul. And then at the end of turn, put the units called with this effect into your soul. So basically the 3 that you called with this effect, they go back, so it's the typical Magia shit. So, okay, he's good, he controls your opponent's field somewhat, because Pale Moon doesn't have control any other way. However, for some reason he's expensive as shit, despite not being even that great. Like, I understand he's a GR, but Jesus Christ, control yourselves. Like, he's a pretty good card, but he's one of the very few good cards in Pale Moon this set. I'm afraid... I love this clan, but I'm afraid I'm just gonna have to roast it this entire set breakdown, because I'm just not a fan of anything. Just, Moving on to some more disappointment is Lunatic Dragon, the main Persona stride for Pale Moon. When you stride him, you immediately Persona. Then, if you do, he gets the auto effect that when a card is placed on rearguard circle from your soul, that unit gets plus 2k. Okay, that's a pretty good start. You have continuous field buffing, and it interacts well with Harry and stuff, with the grade 3 Harry. And it's alright, you know, that's an alright skill. But then, he gets a second skill, which continues GB3, he gets a crit. Like, just couldn't you have given us something else? Like, it just feels so underwhelming for a triple rare Persona stride. Like, other clans are getting so much better things. You can give us a goddamn dragon with a hat. Like, please! A card that's actually good is Darkside Princess, though. It's a double rare, and basically when it attacks a Vanguard, you may have it get plus 5k. If you do, it goes back to the soul. This is very good because you can use the grade 3 Harry when you stride to call her out, and she already gets plus 5k, and she's gonna go back into the soul anyway later on, so you can use her skill to make her 19k on her own, which is pretty nice, and she would fit pretty well on other Pale Moon decks. So this is probably my favorite card for Pale Moon from this set. Well, one of them at least. Like, it's not completely useless like some others, you know. So this is one of the better cards. Also, I usually don't mention the critical triggers for specific grade 3s, but the Harry one is pretty important, because when your Vanguard attacks, it's the same skill as always, you know, Vanguard attacks, put into the soul, plus 5k to Vanguard, and draw a card, right? Except this has interactions where you can put it into the soul, and then call it out later, and keep putting it into the soul, like, despite of its Magi ability, just put it into the soul through its own ability, keep drawing cards, because it's still gonna go back anyway, and it's a really good way to just keep drawing cards. So, I do like Darkside Swordmaster, as she's called. She's also a lot like Katarina from League of Legends, so, you know, props to that. I'm not going to jump into Silverthorns and Nightmare Dolls just yet. I'm going to keep covering some more of the generic support. They got a new starter in Dreaming Bicorn. He has a GB1. When your other rearguard is put into your soul, you can put the starter into the soul, and then you choose 3 of your other units and give them plus 3k each until end of turn. So it's a little field buff. It can be nice. It works well with Lunatic, I guess. We got Firing Wyvern, which is a grade 1. When he boosts a unit with the Magi ability, you can have the unit gain plus 5k until the end of that battle. And if you do, you put Firing Wyvern into the soul. Now for a couple of cards that are actually pretty damn good, Hell's Gate Magician is an interesting Magia card. Only has 8k attack, but it's still pretty good. Only has 8k power, but it's still pretty good. When he's called or ridden, you can counterblast 1 Soul Blast 1. If you do, you choose a grade 2 or less card from your soul and call it, and it gets plus 5k, and then at the end of the turn it goes back into the soul, because it's a Magi ability. But this is pretty good. You can call out some grade 1s that allow you to draw, for example, from such effects, and can be abused, so I guess it is pretty good. Another pretty good grade 2 is Flying Periton. It's a GB1. When he's called, you can soul charge 1. Choose a card from your soul, call it in the same column as this unit, and at the end of the turn, put the unit called with this effect into your soul, like all Magi abilities do. So it's pretty good. It gives you a column immediately just by calling Periton, and it can be called from soul as well, so it just says when it's placed on rearguard circle, not necessarily from hand, so it's pretty good. Nurse of Broken Heart is a really good card. Intensely Spicy Clown is not a really good card, despite having a very similar effect. When your other unit is placed on rearguard circle from your soul, your Vanguard and this unit gets plus 2k each, and it's a GB1. So, yeah, it works like Nurse of Broken Heart, except it's much worse because it doesn't actually do much. Yeah, sorry, Pale Moon, I'm not being very nice to you today. Prankster Girl of Mirrorland, however, is a nice stand trigger. When this card is put into your soul, you can put it on top of your deck instead, and then you search your deck for any card not named Prankster Girl of Mirrorland, put it into your soul, and shuffle your deck. So instead of putting this stand trigger in your soul, you can just search for anything else. So let's say if you get a random soul charge and it's her, like oh shit, a stand trigger. So you're like, okay, if I activate her effect, I put her back in the deck and I choose anything else and put it into the soul. So it's pretty good stuff. Alright, Silver Thorns, one of my honestly favorite archetypes of Pale Moon, and what actually got me into the clan back in BT07 days. I'll start off, I usually don't ever mention Limit Break removers, but this time for Silver Thorns is pretty important, and she's cute as hell, so just have a good look at that for a while. Next up we have Silverthorn Magician Colette. When it's called, if you have a Lukier Vanguard, you soul charge 1. Then, if the card that you soul charge is a Silverthorn, Colette gets plus 3k, so it becomes a 10k booster. It's okay, it's Silverthorn support, I guess. Silverthorn Magician Clément is a bit better. It becomes an 11k attacker when your Vanguard is a Lukier, and then when its attack hits a Vanguard, you have a Lukier Vanguard, then you can put him in the soul, and then you choose one card from your soul not named Clément and call it to rearguard circle. So this is a very nice support card. Definitely what I would have wanted to see in Silverthorns. Obviously I wanted more from this set, and I'm hoping we get more in G-BT06 because Asakai is coming back. So I'm gonna keep on hoping for good Silverthorn support, but this is a step in the right direction. Alright, Nightmare Dolls, the best thing to come out of this set for Pale Moon. This is the one thing that I'm not gonna roast about Pale Moon because it's actually good. Nightmare Dolls are very strong, it's just that the rest of the clan got completely shat on compared to Nightmare Dolls. So, the main card that I'll be talking about is Nightmare Doll Catherine, the girl that has this one weird ruling that nobody can seem to fit into their heads. But I'll just go over her skills first. First of all, she has a continuous skill. All of your Nightmare Doll Alice on rearguard circles get plus 1k, so they're always going to be 11k attackers as long as Catherine is your Vanguard. And the Alices get another skill which is very important. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, if the attack did not hit, you can counterblast 1. If you do, choose up to one card named Nightmare Doll Alice from your soul, call it to rearguard, and put this unit into your soul. Now, the thing that everybody does not seem to understand is that when your Alice does not hit, you can choose to counterblast 1, call another Alice on the same Alice where the other one was standing, and put the previous Alice into the soul. No, it does not get retired because the skill is still being resolved. It's mid-resolution. Why does Angel Feather not die when it hits 6 damage due to an effect? Because the effect is still being resolved. This effect is still being resolved, so the Alice does not get retired. End of story. Seriously. The Alice will not get retired when you use the skill and call an Alice on the exact same spot where the old one was. Got that? Now, the other effect is very good. When you write it, toolbox. You write it, search for anything in your deck, and put it into your soul and shuffle your deck. Just write it, toolbox. Very good card. This is a very good card. This makes me happy about the Pale Moon support. It's pretty much the only good Pale Moon support. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but Catherine is really good. She's a super good card, and she makes the Nightmare Doll deck go crazy. There was some fighter selection support. I'm not going to mention it right now, and I'm sorry I didn't do a set breakdown on that, but I was busy with exams, and now it's a bit too late. So let's just move on to some of the other Nightmare Doll cards. Next up is Ginny. When she's placed on Rearguard Circle, you can put her into the soul. If you do, you choose a Nightmare Doll Alice from your soul, call it to Rearguard Circle, and that unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. So here, let's say, if you used Ginny to call an Alice on top of an Alice, then the Alice would get retired, because you call it, and the other Alice doesn't go anywhere, so, you know. But Ginny is very good. She makes your Alices 16k instead of 11. Of course, just the one Alice that you called, but it's very good. I mean, you can ride Catherine to search for an Alice and then use Ginny's skill to call the Alice out immediately. So, Nightmare Doll Ginny or Guinea is very, very nice. And her flavor text even says, Alice is my dear friend. Nightmare Doll Leslie. I'm not sure who in their right mind would name their daughter Leslie, but she has a very good skill for grade 1. When Alice is put into your soul from Rearguard Circle, stand this unit. Pretty good. Like, it's actually really good. You can keep comboing with the Alices until you run out of Counterblast, and keep standing Leslies. Just put 2 of them on the side, and you're going to be comboing for days. So this is a pretty good grade 1, along with the stuff in Fighter's Collection and the stuff I've gone over already. So that sums it up for Pale Moon. Before we get into the good stuff, let's go over some more disappointing stuff, shall we? Oracle Think Tank. Okay, it's not all disappointing. It's 50-50. The Susano stuff is very bad. Okay, let's just get this over with. Dragon Destroyer Battle Deity Camus Susano. Oh man, this card is not very good. Basically, Axe skill, you can Persona Blast, and until end of turn, he gets the skill. When his attack hits a Vanguard, we're already off to a really bad start. When his attack hits a Vanguard, you look at top 2, put 1 into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in any order. Why is this an on-hit skill? I don't understand why. Why would you have this be an on-hit? For a triple rare Stride of one of the main clans in the game? One of the very first clans in the game? Why? Why is this on-hit? Why is this not just an act? Just act, look at top 2, put 1 into hand, put the other in the bottom, or top 3, I don't know, this is bad. And then, the second skill doesn't make up for it either. It gets a continuous skill that during your turn, it's a GB3, keep in mind that it's a GB3. During your turn, all your units get plus 2k. Okay, this makes your Silent Toms a bit scarier, congratulations. It doesn't require a Susano heart, so maybe if you want your Silent Toms to be hitting for 20k instead of 16, you might want to be doing this, but I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. Camus Susano's really disappointing. I'm sorry. I can't do much about this. A card for the Susano deck that's not as disappointing is Akagi. It's a Glimmer Breath clone, so when it's called, GB1, Canvas 1, Soul Blast 1, look at top 2, put 1 in your hand, put 1 at the bottom of your deck, and then it gets plus 2k. Simple and good, that's all it needs to be. Oracle Think Tank also got a new mechanic word, which is Oracle. Basically, any Oracle ability is active when you have 5 or more cards in your hand, so it's pretty easy to achieve for Oracle Think Tank, but you know, it's a bit... I don't feel like there was a reason to put a title on this kind of thing, but you know, they thought it was a good idea. An interesting Oracle starter is Magical Calico. He has GB1, and on Oracle, you put him into the soul and choose a card from your hand, discard it. You search for any 3 cards from your deck and reveal them. Your opponent chooses 2 cards from among them, and then you put those in the drop zone, and the other one that you didn't choose, you put into your hand, and then you shuffle your deck. So, you know, you can take 3 Silent Toms and, you know, just kind of put them all, let them choose which ones to retire. But you know, you can play some mind games with this card. It's just interesting. Like, I like to cover some interesting cards every now and then, not necessarily great, super amazing, best card in the world. So, you know. Moving on to the one piece of good Battle Sister support is Battle Sister Muffin. She's a crit trigger, and basically when you have a Vanguard with Battle Sister in its card name, you can put her on top of your deck, and then you choose one of your other units and give them plus 3k power and the ability of Oracle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, countercharge 2. So it's pretty good for Battle Sisters because they do counterblast a lot. So, you know, just countercharge 2 on attack. And you obviously shuffle your deck after you use the ability as well. Moving on to the 2 pieces of Tsukuyomi support, and these are good pieces. First one is the grade 1 Virtuoso Housekeeper. When she's called, you can counterblast 1, look at top 5 cards, search for Tsukuyomi, put it into your hand, and then put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Very good card. I don't need to say much about this if you know what Tsukuyomi does. Like, you just keep adding more to your stack. It works with the stride, it helps you to have more Tsukuyomis in your hand. Next up, we have the grade 2 Shrewd Concierge. When he attacks, if you have a Tsukuyomi Vanguard, he becomes an 11k attacker, and when his attack hits a Vanguard, he can counterblast 1. If you have a Vanguard with Tsukuyomi in its card name, you draw 2 cards, and then choose 1 card in your hand and put it into your soul. Again, solid support. The grade 1 is more solid, but it's good stuff. I'm not gonna complain, it's pretty damn good. Moving on to my favorite piece of Oracle Think Tank support. It's not necessarily good, but it is fun. And this is the archetype Magus. So, the main card is obviously one who views the planet Globe Magus. Let's count how many globes we see there. 1, 2, 3, 4... Uh-oh. Anyway, Globe Magus has a really nice skill. During your turn, if you have a heart card with Magus in its card name, you may look at the top card and put it on top of your deck. Now, read what it says in the brackets. You can look at the top card of your deck whenever you wish to. Anytime. You stride it, look at top card. Before using any ability, look at top card. Before drive checking, the first one, look at top card. Okay, I'm gonna check what my second trigger is. Look at it. Just look at it whenever you want. Oh, my turn is about to end. I should check if I have a heal on top of my deck. Look at top card. That's it. Like, just, it's so nice. You always check your top card, no matter when, as long as this stride is on your Vanguard circle. So, I really like it. It has a really nice, like, it's just cool. You can look at the top card at any time. So, it's really good for the whole entire Magus archetype mechanic. So, you don't actually have to memorize what's on top, but you can just check it whenever you want. Now, moving on to the support cards for Magus, we have Cone Magus. When it's ridden or called, you can declare a card name and reveal the top card of your deck. If your declaration was correct, then you countercharge 2. Good stuff. Magus can sometimes they counterblast a lot, sometimes they don't. It all depends on how you're playing it out. So, yeah. Moving on to a really good starter, Semi-Lunar Magus. When she boosts, if your Vanguard is a Magus, you can declare a card name and reveal the top card of your deck. If your declaration was correct, you put her into the soul and draw 2 cards. Good stuff. I would play more than one of this card in my Magus deck for sure. Obviously, I don't have a Magus deck, but if I did, then you know. More interesting cards include Octagon Magus. When she's guarded with, and you have a Vanguard with Magus in its card name, declare a card name, reveal the top card. If your declaration is correct, she gets plus 10,000 shield, so she becomes a 15k shield on her own, just if you declare the card correctly. So, this is why what I was saying with Globe Magus, you can declare the top card right, you can check the top card right before ending your turn. So in order to be sure that you can use Octagon Magus to her maximum in the following turn of your opponent. Rhombus Magus is a good alternative for your grade 2 choices. When she attacks, if your Vanguard is a Magus, you can declare a card name. If your declaration is correct, she gets plus 5k until end of that battle. Sadly, not until end of turn. That would be could be abused with stand triggers and stuff, but, you know, she's still pretty good. Next up, we have Ring Magus, which is a grade 3, which you could use as an alternative. When she attacks a Vanguard, and you have a Magus Vanguard, then you can counterblast 1. This ability is also active on Rearguard and Vanguard circles. Anyway, you declare a card name. If your declaration is correct, you put that you declare a card name, check the top card. If the declaration is correct, you put that card in your hand, and Ring Magus gets plus 3k power. Good stuff, solid stuff. I really like this archetype. Right before we get into the one clan that got by far the best support this set and is the savior of the meta, as some people call it, let's go over Narukami. So, the first triple rare that I'll go over is Conquering Supreme Dragon, Dragonic Vanquisher Voltage. So, he does have a good effect for once, so we haven't seen too many triple rare strides with GB3s on them that have too many good effects. So, once per turn, you can choose to act and Persona Flip. And Voltage gets the ability, well, two abilities. The first one being that when he hits a Vanguard, I don't like this, but it's not as bad as Susano. When he hits a Vanguard, the opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards, retires it, and chooses 2 cards from their drop zone and binds them face up. Pretty good, lots of on-hit pressure, it's good stuff. And the other ability that Voltage gets is a continuous skill, GB3. During your turn, all your units in the front row get plus 3k for each card in your opponent's bind zone. This is big. The first skill is not so great, it's not so important, it's just hit pressure. But for once, this hit pressure is quite important, because with the GB3 you'll be hitting for like 40 something, like 50 something, like just huge numbers. Because you can easily, with the Vanquisher deck, you can easily just put lots of stuff in your opponent's bind zone, and then it goes crazy. Like, it's really, really nice. So Voltage, for once, is a pretty good stride. Another pretty damn good stride is True Eradicator Finish Blow Dragon. Eradicator's got a good deal of support in this set, and Finish Blow Dragon is another one that's pretty nice. So, once per turn GB2, you can counterblast 1 and choose any card in your G zone and turn it face up. And until end of turn, it gets the auto effect. When your opponent's rear guard is put into the drop zone due to an effect from one of your cards, this unit gets plus 5000 and plus 1 critical until end of turn. And then, if you have a Gauntlet Buster Heart, then your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. So you can immediately proc his first skill to give him plus 5k and 1 crit. So, I've seen people get up to like 7 crit with this guy, so it's easily possible. Eradicators are known for that kind of thing, so, you know, just abuse him to hell. I really like his art, I really like the way he works. Eradicators are a fun deck, and I'm glad that they got the support that they needed. Anyway, back to the Vanquisher stuff. I'm gonna go over their Glimmer Breath clone, which is Rock Climb Dragoon. When he's placed on rearguard, counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and it's on GB1. If your Vanguard is a Vanquisher, grade 3 or higher, you can pay that cost that I already mentioned. If you do, your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards, retires it, binds it face up, and Rock Climb Dragoon gets plus 2k. Good stuff. You know, it does what it needs to do, nothing else. Like, I'm not expecting much else from it, but it does exactly what it's supposed to do, and yeah. On top of that, Narukami did get a new mechanic word, which is Thunderstrike. Basically, the Thunderstrike ability is active when your opponent's bind zone has the specified number of cards or more. So let's say Thunderstrike 2 would mean that your opponent's bind zone must contain 2 or more cards. So that's how it works. And a really good Thunderstrike starter, which works with Vanquisher, is Wild Run Dragoon. GB1, you can put him into the soul, then your opponent chooses a card from his or her drop zone, binds it face up, and you choose one of your other units and give it the Thunderstrike 2 ability that during your turn, this unit gets power plus 5000. So it does what it needs to do, it helps Vanquisher, so I find it pretty good. Another pretty good Thunderstrike card is Dragon Dancer Bernadette. So, Thunderstrike 2, when it boosts, you can Soul Blast 1. If you do, the boosted unit gets plus 3k power, so it's basically like a 9k boost. And the effect that when it hits a Vanguard, you can counterblast 1. If you do, your opponent chooses a rearguard, retires it, and binds it face up. Chainbolt Dragoon is a very good card for the Vanquisher deck. It's a grade 1 with a once per turn GB1 ability that when your opponent's rearguard is put into the drop zone due to an effect from one of your cards, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanquisher Vanguard, your opponent chooses a card from his or her drop zone and binds it face up. And then if a card was bound, you choose another one of your units and give it plus 2k power. Good stuff, does what it needs to do. Sadly, it's only once per turn, but if it was more than once per turn, then you could really abuse him. So I guess it's a good thing that it's only once per turn. Could be twice. One piece of, I guess, generic Narukami support is the Tonic's Stinger Dragon. So the Tonics got some support even though they only have one other grade 3 which isn't even available in English yet because the manga got delayed. So as he's a break ride, he gives you a new Vanguard plus 10k power, and when the new grade 3 attacks a Vanguard, you can count as 1 if your opponent doesn't have any rearguards in the front row. And until the end of that battle, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from hand to Guardian Circle. So basically, it's a glory effect. And then it gets a second effect that if your opponent has no rearguards in the back row, so basically no rearguards at all, he also gets an extra critical. Now his on-ride skill is Soul Blast 1, all fighters choose one of their rearguards and retires it. There is a couple of Brawler support cards. First one is Brawler Taerock. His effect is an act once per turn, you can counterblast the Brawler. If your Vanguard has Brawler in its card name and is in Legion, you can have this unit gain the effect that when your Vanguard's attack hits, this unit gets plus 5000 power until end of turn. So it works like the mates for the Legions, where, you know, if it hits, no matter how many units, that's how much power they get. So, I mean, as many units, that's how many times the power will be applied. And he also has Resist. The other card is Brawler Street Fight Dragon. And basically, if you have a Vanguard with Brawler in his card name, you can put him on top of your deck. You choose one of your other Brawler rearguards and give it the effect that when your Vanguard's attack hits, this unit gets plus 3000 power until end of turn. So obviously that will stack according to how many rearguards the Vanguard hits. Some Eradicator support, since the stride is obviously not enough. The first one is Chojun. When his attack hits a Vanguard on Vanguard or rearguard circle, you can counterblast one Eradicator, and then your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards and retires it. So it's an alright card, it's kind of budget I guess, but you know, it's alright. Another one is Machine Gun Eradicator Kanto. When your opponent's rearguard is put into the drop zone due to an effect from one of your cards, you can Soul Blast an Eradicator, if your Vanguard is an Eradicator. And then if you do, you choose one of your other units and give it plus 2k power. So it's alright. Eradicators got another starter, so in Rare Talent Draco Kid. At the end of the battle that your Vanguard with Eradicator in its card name attacked and it did not hit, you can counterblast one and put the starter in the Soul. If you do, you choose two of your other units and give them plus 5k until end of turn. Moving on to the saviors of the game and many things that are good for your body. First off, I'll go into the Messiah stuff, I guess, even though Messiah's kind of splashed into Chaos now, but anyway. Genesis Dragon Exilix Messiah is the other GR of the set, and he's a pretty interesting one. When he attacks a Vanguard, if you have a face-up card named Genesis Dragon Amnesty Messiah, so the other GR, which is worth like $100 right now, in your G-Zone, you can counterblast one and choose one of your Amnesty Messiah from your G-Zone and turn it face up. So basically you need two Amnesty Messiahs in your G-Zone for this. If you do, choose any number of locked cards and unlock them. All of your units that are unlocked get plus 3k until end of turn, and all of your opponent's units that are unlocked get retired. Then, if the number of units unlocked with this effect is 3 or more, this unit gets a critical until the end of that battle. So, Exilix is a good card. It has more field control and more, I guess, taking down your opponent's field than controlling it. But it's good because it also buffs your field, so it's actually good to go on a locking spree in this case. So Exilix is a pretty good card. Obviously you run one of it in your G-Zone, and you have a field day with it. One of the good double rares is Arrestor Messiah. Has a GB1 skill when it's called. If your Vanguard is a Messiah and is grade 3 or greater, until end of turn, Arrestor Messiah will get plus 2k power and the ability that at the end of the battle that it attacked the Vanguard, you can lock it, and then you choose one rearguard in any fighter's back row and lock it. So you can either lock one of your own or one of your opponents. So in Chaos you would lock one of your opponents, in Messiah you might even lock one of your own. Lady Battler of the White Dwarf got a double rare reprint, so if you're still looking for them you can pick them up in double rare now. And then there's also Sacrifice Messiah. When another rearguard is locked, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Messiah in its card name, you can lock him, and it's also GB1 ability. If you do, you countercharge one and give one of your other units plus 3k power. So, interesting little Messiah card. If you have space, you can consider him. And finally, there is a grade 3, I believe, of this card as well, but I'll just go over the grade 1. Divide Monk of the Shattering Fist. So, when he's unlocked, you can counterblast one and retire him. It's a GB1 ability. If you do, you search for 2 cards named the same as this unit. So Divide Monk of the Shattering Fist. Call them to separate rearguard circles and shuffle your deck. So it can be pretty good, I guess. Hey, nice little voice raise. And, you know, it's an interesting card. I don't see it being used much, but, you know, it could be good. Now, brace yourselves as we're moving on to the savior of the meta. The killer of ripples. The one that puts rip in ripples. Death Starvader Chaos Universe. Or just Chaos in general. Starvaders got some of the best support they've seen in a while since like BT13. First off, I'll go over Chaos Universe, but I hope most of you know what Chaos Breaker Dragon does already. But Chaos Universe, act skill once per turn, you can combat 1 and persona. If you have a heart with Chaos, you can choose one of your opponent's open rearguard circles, and your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand and puts it in on that rearguard circle face down as a locked card. And then, if your G-Zone has 2 or more face-up cards, you choose one of your opponent's rearguards and lock it. So, this is very nice because it slims down your opponent's hand for guarding. Obviously, they get the choice of what they put in locked, but it is pretty nice and you can lock on top. This is good because you can stride and then use Chaos Breaker Dragon's abilities to make advantage out of those locks when they unlock. So it's very good stuff, and also the art is just amazing. Moving on to some other stuff, there is the backup grade 3 now for Chaos, which is Starvader Chaos Bringer. I'll go over its second skill first. When he's ridden, you counterblast a Starvader. If you do, lock one of your opponent's back row units. So, good stuff, does what it needs to do. Second skill, it's a limit break. At the beginning of your opponent's main phase, so the timing is important, if your opponent has 2 or more locked cards, you can counterblast 1. If you do, you search your deck for a Chaos Breaker Dragon, write it as stand and shuffle your deck. So this does happen in your opponent's turn, so bear that in mind. One of the best starters for Link Joker so far, which allows you to have the deck become a complete toolbox. Like if you look at the decks that have topped in Japan with Chaos, they all run like their grade 2 lineups are like 4 perfect cards and then 2-2-2, 1-1-1. Like that kind of ratio, right? The reason why you can do that now is because of Involution Starvader Carbon. Basically, he's an act skill, so you put him into the soul, and if your opponent has a locked card, you search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 or less card with Starvader in its card name, not named Carbon, and call it to rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. You can also choose to call Dusttail Unicorn, and there are a lot of cards that you can call from this effect, so feel free to get as toolboxy as you want with this deck, because it's definitely allowed. One of the cards that you can toolbox into is Turmoil Starvader Zinc. If it has an act skill that you put into the soul, and if your Vanguard is Chaos and your opponent has a locked card, you can countercharge 2 and soul charge 2. So this unflips for Chaos Breaker Dragon skill, and it also soul charges for Chaos Breaker Dragon skill, so it's a very good card. I've seen most Chaos lists run this at 2, because it's obviously searchable, and yeah. A pretty good grade 2 is Disorder Starvader Iron. It's an 11k attacker when you have a Chaos Vanguard, and when he's cold and your Vanguard is a Chaos, you can counterblast 1, only if your opponent has a locked card. And then if you do, you choose one of your opponent's rearguards and lock it. So it's kind of like a Photon, but with a counterblast cost, and only restricted to Chaos. And finally, Starvader's got a new crit in Paradigm Shift Dragon. Basically, you put them on top of your deck if you have a Vanguard with Starvader in its card name, if your opponent has a locked card. And then you can choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the back row and lock it, and you shuffle your deck. And that pretty much sums it up for the set. So, G-BT05, it's not the best G set, and it's definitely like, it's one of the weaker ones, I guess. Like there's been a while since we've had a main G set this week, but you know, the Chaos stuff does make up for it, the Narukami stuff does also make up for it, but Time Leap got some good stuff, but most of the good stuff was in the trial deck. OTT, the Mega stuff is nice, Pale Moon, Nightmare Dolls are very good, the rest not so much, and you know, the secret rares are pretty, I guess, but you know, you can say that about anything, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it helped you if you didn't know what was in the set yet. I did obviously skip a lot of cards because I felt that they were not important and I felt that they would not have any impact on the current meta. But I hope I didn't miss out anything too important. I think I covered pretty much everything. And good luck in pulling your secret packs and anything you might need from the set. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.